Excellent. All right. Welcome, everybody. Pam here from Around the Table Yarns. I don't know why my background looks like this. I turned off the blur. I can't get it to undo. I might have to reboot or something later. So I feel like I'm 3Ding into the computer here. So I don't know why it's doing that. Um, Today in Tunisian Crochet Club, in our sampler shawl, let's get mine. I didn't get very far in. I always try to have it done, and it just didn't happen this time. It just didn't happen. Hi, Rocky.
Hello.
Um, but today we are going to do the section 13 textured stripes, um, which combines two stitches that we've already done, but makes a very nice stripe pattern. So all I have done on my big shawl is my transition row. Um, but I have my little sample, so we'll be able to see it. All right, I'm going to switch over to my camera. There we go. Okay. So let me get some yarn pulled out before I get too far along here. I actually had to go into another ball. I thought I had enough, but these rows are long. Okay, so for section 13, textured stripes, you are going to do your transition row in the same lace pattern that you did section 12 in. There we go. Let's get it. So you're just going to change your color, but continue your pattern. And um, I wouldn't worry too much about your stitch count. If you're off, if you're hugely off, then yes, we want to worry about it. But if you're mostly on, or it visually looks like it's even, I wouldn't worry about it. For this and the next section, particularly for this section, I wouldn't worry about it, and you'll see why. And in the next section, it's a two-stitch repeat, which we can easily add or subtract a stitch to make it work out when you get over to your center increase or to the end of the row before your return pass. So as long as visually it looks okay, don't worry about these last two. It's a lot of stitches to count. I think by the time we're done, we're going to have 365 stitches, supposedly. Some of us may have more, some of us may have less. Um, but that's a lot to continue to count. So don't let that weigh on your head. All right. So this is mostly going to be a little refresher. For textured stripes, after you've done your transition row, there are three pattern rows listed. Pattern row 3 is the same as pattern row 1. So this is a 3-row um, stripe that we're going to do. And let's get started. So we're going to start, like we always do, with our full stitch increase. There we go. And then we're going to do the very lovely and always favorite Tunisian purl stitch. So as a refresher, bring the yarn forward, and I like to do it with my hook. I was demonstrating this in class this morning. I come behind with the hook, which pushes that yarn forward, and then I enter my stitch, and then I swing that yarn back around so I can pull it through. You're going to pull Tunisian purl all the way across. So I'm going to do that again. I just pull my hook behind, go under the vertical bar, bring the yarn to the back, yarn over, and pull through. For me, using the hook to push that yarn forward, or oops, a little knot there, um, come behind the yarn, it just makes it a little bit easier flow. If you tend to make this tight, and I know we talked about that when we did the purl stitch previously, this may help you loosen up just a little bit. So you're going to purl all the way to the center, which if you're off on your stitch count, this is why it doesn't matter. It isn't a combination of stitches. It's just a single stitch. But we'll be able to see what it looks like here. All right, so I'm ready for my center increase. So don't bring it forward. A full stitch, a knit stitch in the center. Let's take that stitch marker out. And another full stitch right on the other side of that. And put my marker back in. Okay, and then lo and behold, we're going to purl some more all the way to the end. I have to say, I think I like Tunisian purling more than I like purling and knitting. There's just a little, there's just a little easier rhythm. I don't know why. I think because I let the hook do the work, it just feels a little easier instead of having to physically move the yarn. Okay, so I'm down to the end here. Do my end increase. Let's find that end space to do a full stitch. And then our end stitch. Chain one. And then return pass. Those, they got a little looped over each other. There we go. Okay. So then we'll move on to pattern row 2, which if I remember correctly is the simple stitch. So we're going to alternate and then we'll finish up with a repeat of row 1, which is the purl stitch. So by alternating rows, keeping the stitch the same in the row, so a row of purl, a row of simple, and a row of purl, we're going to be able to create, like she calls it, a textured stripe. All right, so let's start pattern row 2. Full stitch and then simple stitch, which I feel like we haven't done in a while. So while these rows are long, the stitches are not complicated. We had quite a discussion this morning about weaving in all these ends. So I have started doing like 15 minutes a night, like when I'm watching something on TV with my husband.
I haven't woven none of mine, so that would
I
take.
just started, Aura, so don't worry about it. But I figured, oh, I'm gonna want this to be done.
Yeah.
So I've made a plan. When we're watching something, the last 15 minutes, I'm weaving in ends on something. All right, center, full, knit, And then another full. Oh, I hate this little turn here. It gets so tight when we're
I know. Me
coming
too.
around that point. Yep. There we go. And back to simple. And more. And an end stitch. And a chain one. Whoop. Lost my marker. Let's find that center stitch right there. My marker's getting tired. Here we go. And return pass. Oop. I know everybody makes sound effects when they're crafting. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a few of the second row of purl stitches so you can see what that textured stripe looks like. Okay. So we've done a row of purl. So here's our little bumps. And we've done a row of simple stitch. And now we're going to do another row of purl. And I'll just do a few in a return pass so you can see how that's going to look. Come on. Let's try that again. There it goes. I was trying to teach someone the other day. She's like, you move your thumbs a lot. I go, I don't realize that's what I do, but I know what I need to stay still, and I use my thumbs to do it. Okay, let's just do a couple more here. Do the same thing when I do regular crochet. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick return pass so you can see what that looks like. Because the row isn't complete till you do the return pass. You won't get that full effect. And two. So here you go. Row
Mhm,
of purl, simple there. Purl. So that simple kind of recedes back, and that purl stitch definitely comes up front. Her
mhm,
little picture in the pattern really doesn't do it justice. It's a very pretty stitch. This
mhm,
would be lovely in a blanket. This would be lovely as like a sweater,
mhm.
just to alternate front and back like that. I really like the way that looks, especially if you can keep your purl stitches on the looser side. Um, then they don't pull back so much. They really kind of stand out front. And then that little simple stitch just pulls to the back.
I have a question.
Sure, Aura, go ahead.
Let's assume that you're going to use that stitch to make a sweater and
Yeah.
you're trying to measure gauge. how do you count those stitches? I mean, what do you count?
So I would chain a certain, I would do maybe, let's say 25 stitches or something.
Okay.
Enough so that you can get at least 4 inches of, depending on the weight of your yarn and,
Mhm.
all of that. You want to have at least 4 inches. I like a little bit wider so that I can measure in a couple different places. That's a really good question, Nora. And then I think I can lay my hands on a little gauge here to measure. Yeah, here's one. Oh. So then let's assume I had a big enough piece.
Mhm.
Because whatever stitch you're going to make your sweater or garment or something that needs to fit, you should do your swatch in that same stitch. Okay. So then what I would do is I'm going to measure. I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to measure in 2 inch gaps just because I don't have a huge amount. I could
Mhm.
also measure all 4 inches. Um, but I'm going to lay my edge down at the beginning of the stitch. And ideally, what I'm trying to figure out is how many stitches I'm getting per inch with this stitch pattern. So I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm counting 7 purl bumps in 2 inches. So that's about 3.5 stitches per inch. I'm going to come down. Let's
And
try.
if you have the Tunisian simple, I cannot identify the stitches. How do you count that?
So if I can, let's see, I'm going to measure in between here. Let's zoom in a little. So I'm going to measure. And you want it just to lay it flat, but the
Mhm.
simple stitches are these vertical bars right here.
So whatever is at the front, you only count whatever is at the front.
Correct, correct. So I could lay that on top and I would lay one bar right at the beginning there.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm getting the same number um, because they're connected to each other. The pearls will pull on the simples and vice versa.
Mhm.
Not in the same way knitting does,
Yeah.
but they will pull on each other. But I am getting the same. So I could measure this, my swatch, if I had a nice square, I could
Mhm.
measure it in several different places. For if I was gonna do, God help me, um, well, I have done something in a honeycomb. I was gonna say the basket weave stitch. You could measure. So now here I have a nice big piece. I could measure over 4 inches. So here we have, what was it, knit stitches and purl stitches, I believe.
I think so.
I think that's what it was. So I could count. So I just put it at the edge of my repeat here because I know that's where it switches. And I'll count across 4 inches. So I know that there are 3 and 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and looks like it's going into the next one, 16. So I would say that I'm getting 4 stitches per inch in this particular. And if I lay this on the 3 stitches, that seems about right because 3 stitches don't take up that whole inch. It's really about 4 stitches per inch. I could do the same in this one. But having a big enough piece that's flat and preferably blocked. This hasn't been, but it is pretty flat. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would guess a half. This one's a nice one to measure across 4 inches because you get a bigger sample. So let's just put it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 and
And a
a
quarter.
half-ish. Yeah, 8.5-ish in 4 inches. And then you have to do the math to figure it out. But gauge works the same way. Um, but having a big enough sample and then identifying, so here's my honeycomb stitch. So for this one, one, two, three, I'm getting four honeycombs in 2 inches. So if I know how many stitches I'm getting in an inch and I want it to be, let's say 40 inches around, then I know how many I have to have. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
am accustomed in knitting. It's just that I have a little trouble identifying what is a stitch in here.
absolutely. Having a big enough sample helps. Having it smoothed out helps. And now that we've practiced a lot of these stitches, clearly I'm measuring them all differently. This
Mhm.
one I'm measuring at the top. I've got the two colors, so I'm
Mhm.
measuring at the top end of this one, and I want to make sure that I complete at the other end because that's how wide
Mhm.
that stitch is. I'm not
Mhm.
counting the gap in between.
Mhm.
I'm just counting the number of stitches, and this one's only, I'm
Mhm.
only getting basically 2 stitches per inch
Mhm.
in that particular pattern because it's so wide and big and has so many more steps. But
Mhm.
different in the knit stitch. We've got one, two, three, four, five, six, 7.5.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So figuring out what is a complete stitch
Yeah.
is, and if you're not super familiar, obviously doing it in a lighter color to start for your gauge if you can, really helps. It's just a little bit easier to see the stitches.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Mhm.
Because I do hope that people will take these stitches and
I really enjoyed it. I mean, some of them.
yeah,
What is the one that we all hate? I mean, I can't remember.
the
There's one.
oh the which one we didn't like
There's one of them that it was a
I
pain.
wasn't a huge fan of slanted.
Yeah, I can't remember. Whatever it was, oh my God, it was a pain.
It was a pain, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of reverse either. I don't like going backwards.
Me either.
But I've learned that. Um, so so hopefully you'll be able to, or if you see this in another pattern, know that you can adjust it a little bit if you need
Yeah.
to.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Any other questions?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna stop recording. Next time we're gonna do the ribbing,
Mhm.
which again, pretty simple stuff we've already done, but it's got two colors, so there's a little bit of an addition there. And then we're going to talk about the border, which is actually fairly easy. There's so much going on. The border is very simple,
Mhm.
but I'll show you how to pick up along those awkward edges.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to stop recording.